Hi, Mary. So glad you got Zephyr back. Let's just get down to it. So I think this is just mostly your warm-up period. What I noticed right away is he's a little short striding when you're doing his trail walk. He's just not relaxed, even though it looks like he is. He's not relaxing his back enough and stretching out and reaching up enough with his legs. So not bad. He's just a little bit short strided. It looks like you've changed the bit. I can't tell what bit it is, or because of the bit guards, I can't tell where it is in his mouth. But if you watch throughout the video, his mouth is very busy the entire time. He's chomping on that bit and playing around with it. And I don't remember that happening with the other bit. So just take a look yourself, because again, I just can't tell if maybe it's too low in his mouth. So make sure it's not hitting his teeth. And if it's adjusted correctly, you might want to try going back to that other bit. He just seemed happier in it. But from this video, and you're not heavy-handed at all, you're very soft with your hands, but he was playing with that bit nonstop the whole time. Your warm-up was good. It looks like he's doing most of the movements pretty well. I'm gonna scan ahead so I can show you some of them. I'm gonna get you a close-up of his mouth. You can hear my dogs running around in the background, but see his mouth? You're not even in it. You're very light-handed, but he's just playing with that bit the entire time. So to me, I would check it, or maybe try the other bit, the other shank you were in. Your hands are good, your riding is good. It's not you, it's something to do with that bit. So here it looks like you're starting to do your shoulder in. What I would do is just try to have your shoulders going over his shoulders. So I would turn your shoulders a little bit more to the inside, and then look a little bit to the inside as well as you're going. He's doing it pretty well. The only thing I noticed with all of his movements, when you're asking him to do them, he starts short striding, and some of the time he starts almost getting a little bit pacey. So I would try, I'm gonna stop you for a minute. I would try when you're doing the shoulder in to do maybe 1 or 2 steps, then walk out and go forward again, and 1 or 2 steps and walk out and go forward again, to teach him not to shorten his stride so much, but to stay more loose and relaxed as he's doing those lateral movements. So with all of the lateral movements, the leg yielding, the haunches in, the shoulder in, you'll see on the video that he shortens his stride and gets pacey with all those things. So I would still do them, but I would do less of them and only a couple of steps, and then try to go forward, let him relax, and then try to do it again. So here you're starting to do the haunches in, and I would just turn your shoulders just a little bit more to the outside. He's doing it well, except again, he's short striding and he's going a little bit towards a pace while you're doing it. So again, I would do less steps and walk out more, try to get him a little bit looser in between those movements. So with him, you just got to be careful with the lateral movements, because you know he was very kind of short strided when you started with him, and then you got him so good towards the end of it, and now he's starting to short stride again some. So again, just keep alternating any lateral movements that you're feeling him kind of short striding. Just a couple of steps, gonna go forward for a while, a couple of steps, then go forward again. But here now he has a nice walk and he's lengthened his stride back out. So here as you start coming across and you start asking him for a little bit more, you'll see how much he's starting a short stride and how much it's starting to go more towards a pace. So that's the only thing I would be careful of, because again, you want to keep lengthening his stride, and you want him to get him to do the movements with a little bit longer stride, so it's not so choppy, or at least that's what I would aim for. And just as you're doing the movements, you can glance at his head, but then I would try to keep your eyes up over his ears. Stretch up a little bit taller will make a prettier picture, but I know you had some issues with your posture, but if you can bring the shoulders back and the chest up just a little bit, But again, do what is comfortable for you. It just might make a little bit prettier picture. There, your eyes are very good. You're looking exactly where you need to go. So now this is your flat walk. You'll see now he's reaching up much better. He's kind of stepping into his front hoof print. He's not getting much over stride. He's not going over the front hoof print, but he's doing pretty well. And as you went on, he did get more relaxed and a little bit more looseness in his gait, because we don't want him to be stiff in his gait. But again, see him playing with that bit that whole time. But the flat walk is very nice. You're doing really well with it. I would like him in time to drive a little bit more with his hindquarters. So I would be like lunging him over poles and practicing the stop and the back up at least 3 to 6 times during your ride, just to get him to engage that back end. I know you said now you were kind of trying to leg yield when he gets a little pacey, and that's perfectly fine. But still practice that back up, because it'll get him to use that hind quarter a little bit more. So some of the time he's good, like he's decent right here, but if you watch as he comes around the turn, this becomes much better. He's got more head shake. He's reaching up more. So I would, with your flat walk, I would try to keep him in more circles, do a little bit less lateral work while you're flat walking him, and just try to get him to engage himself and keep reaching up underneath himself with that inside hind leg during the circles. And maybe spend 5 minutes circling like a 20-meter circle the one direction, and then 5 minutes going the other direction instead of switching around so much. I think it would just help him to relax more and get a little bit more looseness in his gait, and help him to get a little bit more head shake there. You do a wonderful job, but when he changes directions often, or he's doing that lateral work, then he starts to keep shortening up, and then he's not driving as much with that hind quarter. I don't know if you have any hills there that you can walk him on, because that would help him also to engage his hind quarter. He's looking really good. There, it's quite nice, but I think he could still use himself a little bit more. So here you're starting to pick up more speed, so it looks like you're going towards a running walk. There he did the little step pace, and I saw you kind of bend him and get him out of it, and he did a little bit right there as well. So you're doing very good at having the feel and recognizing that he's coming out of gait, and then doing things to actually help fix it. So I don't think you need my help with that. You got that down. But we just want to make sure you spend enough time in his running walk, at least I would say at least 5 minutes each direction from what I'm seeing here. And again, I would just not change directions as often. And again, at times he's driving pretty well and gets a lot of head shake, and other times it's just not as much. So here, it's not as much. You see him playing around with that bit again. As you're coming across, that's a little bit better. So here you're a little bit more relaxed, on a little bit of a longer rein. He's still doing pretty well there, and he's reaching out, so that looked quite good. He's starting to get a little bit of self-carriage, which is nice. So this I like better. You got him going a little bit more speed, and he's engaging himself a little bit more there. So I think you're doing great lateral work with him. But again, I would do just a little bit less. He's trying very hard, but as he tries to do it, he really shortens that stride up. So what I would recommend is doing the lateral work, but in between trying to lengthen his stride some. And then I would not change my direction as much, because he just never seems to get as much fluid movement as when you're staying the same direction. So I would stay the same direction a little bit more often, flat walk 5 minutes or more in one direction, and then change to the other direction and repeat the opposite way. And I would just try to see if you can keep him reaching underneath himself, lengthening that stride and stretching out a little bit more. He's not bad. It's just not as good as when you had sent your last video. So I know you're going to get it back. I know he's going to do better. So I would try to work more, lengthening his stride, making lots of circles. You can make figure eights, do a little bit less of the lateral work, put it in between, trying to lengthen his stride. And I think it's fine to work more at his running walk. You got it. You just got to keep practicing it. And he's just got to keep using himself. And the more you keep him in the circle as you're doing the flat walk will help so he doesn't get as pacey. It will also help him to step underneath himself a little bit more with his inside hind leg as you're doing that. And I think you're going to get more gait. And I think if you keep going, if we can get him going pretty well, then I think the next step will be show me his canter, show me what you guys got, and I can give you exercises to help him work on that as well, or if you want to start trying to work on the saddle gait. But your flat walk and running walk is good. Just spend more time doing it and getting him to lengthen that stride and trying not to have him shorten his stride too much when he's doing the lateral movements like the shoulder in and the haunches in.